So here's a thought. As a 60-year-old non-drinker, you could change those mind-numbing, wine-numbing evenings into cash-making opportunities. Stick around. I'm going to show you how. Hey there, this is Lisa Renee with the Lisa Renee Project, and this is where we are doing a whole self-renovation on me, and I'm showing you how you can do it as well. So I've been busy, working on myself, but I've also been using DoorDash as my perfect side gig. I understand it's not everyone's perfect little jam, but if you have a decent car, I have a 2012 Toyota hybrid, so I get pretty good mileage, and you can't break a Toyota. And if you can climb stairs without too much huffing and puffing, I'm getting better at that since I'm a non-drinker now, this might be for you. So here's a couple reasons why DoorDash fits my life. I did try the Uber thing, and I did try driving in a bigger city. I live in a small town in Middle Tennessee, which is 30 or 40 minutes or so from the next big town, which is Murfreesboro, which is outside of and into the busiest area, which is Nashville. No, thank you. I got tired of people in my car, so I went to DoorDash. And just like all the work-on-demand jobs, with Uber and Uber Eats, DoorDash lets you do work as you see fit and work that around your schedule. So that is absolutely one of the biggest perks. And if you can stay in top tier ratings, you can get more flexibility than just the work on demand. But I can plan around my videotaping, my editing, my workouts, my dog duties, everything. That's number one. Number two is this small town edge I have. See, I figured it out. I've been doing it for quite a while now. Year and a half. My gosh, it's been 2 years, I think, right now. But okay, anyway, back to the small town, which I live in. There is competition because there's a lot of people here. What happens in a small town, though, is your ratings only have to be at a certain level. They don't have to be top tier like the bigger cities. So that's something as well. Though I do stay as high level as I can, and we'll talk about those in a bit. But the traffic is minimal. Oh my gosh. To keep your stress level down, there's barely any traffic if you live in a small town. You get to know all the restaurant staff, all the pickup staff, you have your Dollar General, new food line, and grocery and different things like that. But it's mostly food. Your Taco Bells, your McDonald's, your restaurants, and Mexican restaurants. Lord, we have a dozen of those in our little tiny small town. But since it is such a small town, you get to know all the back roads, all the ways to get around with avoiding all those pesky little stoplights. So that's huge. It saves you time, which makes you more money. Murfreesboro, I started to learn, but it's still a lot bigger than my town. Nashville, forget about it. So I would never do DoorDash in Nashville. I can't imagine. I'm sure those young kids can really rack up the cash, but I'm not. No, thank you. Small town for me. Third, the non-drinker advantage. Here's surprising tidbits that DoorDash has. If you're a non-drinker, prime time for delivery is around 5 to 8. And if you're busy on your wine o'clock at that time, Lord knows, I hope you're not driving. But, that was always impossible for me. I never did the dinner because dinner time was my time to drink. But I don't anymore. So that is premium for me, especially in a small town, for making the bigger bucks. I'm free to hustle whenever I want because I don't drink anymore. While everyone else is unwinding with their cocktail or numbs out with booze, I'm out there grabbing their dinners and making money. And guess what? When they're drinking, they tip better. Huh. Now, let's talk ratings. if you're going to make the most money, you got to stay at the top tier level, which is called platinum. They also have a gold, which is a step down, and a silver, which is the lowest level you can maintain to actually continue to DoorDash. I like to stay top tier. In my small town, that is a plus if you're not a very good DoorDasher, because you don't have to have really high ratings. However, if you don't have top tier ratings, you're not going to make the big bucks. One of the biggest things staying top tier that I let slide when I took like 7 days off is the rolling 30 days. To stay top tier, to make the most money, you have to have a minimum of 100 deliveries within the last 30 days. And I didn't pay attention to that. And before I took 7 days off, I had let slide and I was only doing a couple here and a couple there. So my 100-day total got pretty low. And when I came back on to DoorDash, I was under 100. So I dropped down a tier. I was in tears for dropping down a tier because now I had to take crap rides and work my way back up, taking all those $2 and $3 rides. Yeah, you're saying $2. You're going to work for $2? Well, if you're not making top tier money, you're going to get a lot of that. So you need to maintain that as well. So in the video coming up, I'm going to talk more about that. So we'll be right back with a few of the live clips on one of my DoorDash days. Actually, I think some of it goes over Saturday and Sunday. But anyway, I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you back here after. Hey, so we're out here DoorDashing today. It's Saturday, and it's usually a pretty easy day. It goes by quickly. I just needed to pick up a few. With DoorDash, you need to maintain a certain level to get the best delivery trips, as well as to get priority access to things like if you want to schedule ahead or if you want to dash in certain areas, because some areas actually have higher requirements than other areas. I actually live in a small town in Middle Tennessee where the standards are pretty low, and I don't have trouble meeting those requirements. So I am top tier to get all the best there is to get from DoorDash and money. However, I took 5 straight days off and forgot about one aspect of remaining top tier in DoorDash. And that was, you must maintain at least 100 delivery trips within the last 30 days. And so I usually do about 150, pushing 200 sometimes. I am nowhere near full time. I only drive to make what I have to make so that I can work on my business the rest of the time. So those 5 days not paying attention to my stats, so nothing else changed except for my total deliveries in 30 days, and it went down to 90. So what happens then is they drop you down a tier. And what that means is you got to build that back up. And it's on a rolling 30 days. So for example, Friday, was it Friday? No, this is Saturday. So Thursday, I had gotten up to 102 for the last 30 days. But when you switch over to the next day, it also drops off your last day, or whatever those totals were. So it all has to add up for a total of 30 days to 100 to have top tier. So though I made top tier on Thursday by making up those numbers and was at 102, when time came yesterday, I was back down to 95. Dang, so now I dropped a tier. And you might think that's not such a big deal, but when you drop down a tier in a small town where there's so many people competing for the best offers, and you know, if you want to cherry pick, you know, on occasion, you got to be top tier. So I had to pick up crap rides. I had to pick up $2 rides, in hoping, because $2 is the minimum. This means they did not tip in the app. So you're hoping they're going to give you a cash tip. In this area, in my small town, they normally don't. And bonus, It's school is out for the season, so you've got a lot of teenagers who don't really understand, and they haven't entered the workforce into the food industry, you know, working for tips, etc., etc. So you get a lot of teenagers ordering like Sonic Blast, and they don't tip. You know, they may be getting a $6 Sonic Blast. I don't even know how much they are. I get $2. I may have to take it 4 or 5 miles, but there's no tip because the kids usually don't tip, and it's not 100%. I've gotten $5 tips from high school kids, taking it to them on school property. I mean, it happens, but it's rare. It is completely an oddity if these kids tip. So when you're down into the not top tier, you get all the crap. $2, $3. Sometimes you might get a $4.75, but you gotta watch it because they want you to go 12 miles out of town, which means you're out of range, and then you gotta drive all the way back. So that doubles your mileage almost. So anyway, note to self, anybody out there is new to DoorDash, you do not want to drop down too low in tiers, or you're going to be in tears because you're not going to be making the money you want, or you're going to be scrambling and waiting around. But you know, hey, it pays what I need to have paid until I don't need to get out here and do this. I mean, because believe you me, I don't want to drive any more for a living than I have to. So anyway, that's what I got for today, and good luck out there DoorDashing, and maybe I'll see you on the road. So also I wanted to add to that last little bit that if you're in a small town and you've dropped a level and you're at a lower tier and you want to bring that up quickly, you may have to have a higher tier to dash in a neighboring city. Like mine happens to be Murfreesboro, Nashville. If I want to bring that up quickly, I will spend the extra 30 to 40 minutes driving to that area because they're so much busier that you're going to get back-to-back or stacked trips that you're going to bring that up very quickly. So keep that in mind if you have dropped from top tier for some reason, like I had because of the count for the last 30 days. It dropped below 100. Remember that you can always go and make that up quickly by driving to a neighboring larger city because they're going to be a lot busier, and sometimes that's your best bet. So that's what I've got now. Bye. So as we're going about our days with DoorDash, letting you know that you can do this at 60 something years old, I just got a call that I did not want to get on the weekend. And that's to our local Hardee's. Hardee's in our town is like the greatest thing since sliced bread. And on the weekends, I don't know why, the drive-through lines are around the building. People are standing around all inside waiting for these awesome biscuits that I never thought they were really that awesome. More like, you know, it's just wet flour mixed with dry flour. Yeah, no. So anyway, Hardee's is not my favorite, but here we are trying to make sure we got our numbers, and we're trying to get them back up high enough that I can take some time off and not worry about it dropping down below 100 deliveries in the last 30 days. I know there's some of you gung-hoers out there talking about, well, just go slam it out, be busy all one day. I live in Manchester, Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee, and it's this little teeny tiny town. Yeah, we got a lot of fast foods. We got a lot of food here, and we have a good number of people, but not like in the bigger suburban areas like Murfreesboro, which is about a half hour from me, and the closer you go in towards our big town of Nashville, the busier and more money you can make. So in Manchester, you have to work the prime times, and I do that on Sundays as before noon. But Hardee's is like, oh my God, don't make me go to Hardee's. But I got that now. So here we are. I'm at the stoplight, catty corner from the Hardee's, and it doesn't look like it's slamming that busy. It's actually about 11:30. So big time breakfast is over, I guess, and people are out doing their thing on Sundays. So I don't know, but here we are trying to get our numbers up. So I've had some people suggest before, or even seen them talk about it on other channels, when you're trying to build your numbers, you know, you go where the money is, right? And I don't normally do that because I have issue with lots of traffic, and to keep my last 30-day count over 100. So there you have that. And longer wait times for food. However, I have worked Murfreesboro and I have worked Nashville, and next weekend. So I just picked up this $10 delivery, and it's for Cracker Barrel, and here we are on Sunday, so they're going to be really busy. I'm not in a hurry to get there, but it's also for 9.2 miles, and normally that's not a good thing. And that's what happens when you're in a small town as well. You get a lot of trips that go way out, but then you're not in an area where you're going to pick up anything else, so you have to actually come back. So I figured by the time I'm like 3 miles out of town, every other mile after that is doubled, because I got to actually come back into town. So it's probably going to be about a 10-mile round trip, plus 4 miles to, let's see, 10, 9, 14. It's almost a 15-mile trip for $10. And that's not that great. But here in Manchester, and today in particular, it's an okay deal. A lot of these roads, when you get further out of town, are 55 or 60 miles an hour, so it goes quickly. So you got to think about the time you spent is not as much as you would think if you're driving those 9 miles in town or suburban areas. And as well, it is now almost noon, and I'm working this shift until noon. I don't know if you can see here, Ollie's in the back with me, but I bring him out sometimes with me as well. And when I get out of town, I'm going to actually be closer to my home, which I would be going to anyway. So this is actually a win for me. And I kind of had the same sort of deal coming in. Before I even got into town, I got called to go to McDonald's that was going to be even 6 miles from where I was at the time, which is quite a ways, and then another 5 or 6 out of town the other direction, but it was for $14, and that's a win. I mean, when you calculate how much time you're going to spend on the road, actually, because of the time and the speed limits are higher, and not so much on the mileage, they can be a win. So you just got to do the math and figure out what works for you. And I'm still playing, as you know, that numbers game, trying to get up my total count for the last 30 days. So I'm picking up this last one for this shift. I will be back out later, and it's $10. So $10 is $10. And next Saturday and Sunday, our little town of Manchester hosts a yearly festival called Bonnaroo. And during Bonnaroo, which I've tried to work before, there are a lot of streets that are blocked off. There's a lot of back roads that you go back to the farm, that they call it, where Bonnaroo is held, that you can't get to. So you got to make all these crazy, like, you know, alternate routes. You got to find alternate routes, and it's not that easy. You end up going miles and miles and miles out of the way. So guess what? Next weekend, I'll be going to Murfreesboro, and in between Murfreesboro and Nashville are really hot areas as well, called Smyrna, Laverne, Antioch. So next weekend, I should be able to get my numbers up. I will be fried and crazy because of it, but that will be the end of all this craziness of trying. Oh, almost ran off the road.
Hey there. So
I'm still trying to figure out all this video stuff and how to make sure the microphone's right and I'm not yelling in your ear or anything. So I hope this works much longer, but I'd be happy to share all the tidbits and, some of the hilarious things that I go through. I'm going to start recording it. But also, don't forget to join my Sunday Sip email list for weekly inspiration that I am sending out. And grab my free 5 mocktails. I have 5 free recipes for you. It's down below in the description. So check that out as well. But until next time, I love you as always and a big hug. Have a good day. Bye.